Flatter than a Parisian runway model. Morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Bury Your Bookie. Yes, they were. They were flatter than a Parisian runway model. I could not have been any more dead wrong than I was about the opening game of the NBA regular season. New York Knicks taking on the Boston Celtics. Boston celebrating their championship, hanging banner number 18, getting these big fat rings that were worth a fortune, jewels. They got confetti going. They did just about everything they could to get the fans as crazed as they possibly could be before this game. While the New York Knicks had gone through this vital transformation, and during the offseason, they made the acquisition of Karl Anthony Towns. Many people thought that that was a missing piece. They weren't getting consistent enough play out of Julius Randle. DiVincenzo what was good, but somewhat inconsistent in terms of that top-level performance night in and night out. He'd get 32 one night, 5 the next, which maybe was no fault of his own. And yet we know this about Tom Thibodeau, that he is going to be driving these guys virtually into the ground in the preseason to get them ready for what could have been, I don't know. I mean, I hate to use this kind of cliche, but what could have been a statement game coming right out of the chute as the defending champions were going to have to contend. And if you're the Knicks, you're saying, hey, we're going to dog these guys all season long, right to their grave. And speaking of the grave, additional motivation coming from the fact that they wheeled out the open casket after exhuming the bodies of Red Auerbach, Bill Russell, and even Hondo Havlicek was out there being exposed to the crowd there with all of his brilliance, dead as a doornail, to motivate the Boston Celtics last night. But you were expecting more from the New York Knicks. At least I was. I was more than willing to go ahead and lay the 6 in that game, thinking I got to do something here. I don't know if I'm attracted to any of these bizarre prop bets that they're offering right now, which there are zillions of them. But I was inclined to go ahead and have some action on the game, taking 6 points with the New York Knicks, a bitter disappointment. Well, when your theory goes to shreds right at the start of the ballgame. Now, it was remarkable shooting by the Boston Celtics in this game. They make 29 threes, got to garbage time in the game, and I don't know if you could have bet whether or not they were going to eclipse the record of three-point shots converted in a game. The Milwaukee Bucks, I guess, hold a record at 29 also. So they tied the record. In garbage time, they had any number of guys just chucking it from Pete Maravich type of distance in an attempt to eclipse the record. The crowd was all in. I actually thought it was one of those silly giveaways. I didn't really understand what was going on because I was kind of in and out intermittently with the game. And so I thought it was one of those things where if the Celtics scored 135 points, everybody in the crowd, if they took their ticket stub to some Domino's, they got a half a slice of pepperoni pizza for free, which, are you really inclined to do that? I don't know. I mean, are you going to go ahead and try to redeem that? Go running out of the arena there going, yeah, okay, we got a free taco. No, but the crowd was really into it, and I thought it was for that reason, that somehow if they got to 135, they got something for free as they exited the arena. And it turned out that they were going for the record for three-point shots converted in a game, but they didn't make it. A series of bricks that almost looked like it came out of the WNBA. And by the way, if you go to the merchandise shop in the WNBA arena, can you buy a brick there? Because that would be symbolic of what we saw throughout the postseason. There I go, denigrating women in sports. All right, if you're a basketball fan, we're going to talk to Troy West here in just a second. It's that time of the year again, people. The NBA is back. We saw a couple of games last night. Lakers also winning. From opening tip-off to buzzer beaters, BetOnline has you covered with the best odds, the biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all of your favorite teams. You think the guy's going to miss a free throw? Boom. Send it in. This season, every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, every breakdown, and live odds to bet on during the game itself. And it's not just the NBA. BetOnline has odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, World Series on tap here on Friday, NHL to political props. Head to the website today to get in on all the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. That's BetOnline. The game starts here. Our game on a Wednesday usually starts and ends with this man who has been doing a dynamite job for us and all of his clients as well. We're going to welcome Troy West into the program. I know he was also on this, and there was a reason, I guess, an ominous sign to be even more convinced that the Knicks were going to be victorious in this game, probably on the money line. Never mind the fucking 6 points. And that was, and Troy West joins us here on the show. And you said, and you sent me a message that considered the fact that Brian Windhorst of ESPN, the Wind Man himself, loved the Celtics in this game. And I immediately texted you back, yeah, go the other way. I mean, I don't know when was this guy's last winter. I mean, I think he had the North in the Civil War. That was it. But what do you think? That was a trouncing that I couldn't have even imagined. I really bought into all the theories that it was going to be the hungry guys, the hungry dogs against the fat cats from the offseason, all the accolades, and they're gushing all over each other, the Boston Celtics. And I'm figuring they come out like the Heat did after they won their championship in 2003. Or what was it, 2006? One of those years. Anyway, they come out, they get beaten by 50 points on opening night against some schmuck team like Chicago, who were really down at the time. So we got hammered, is what I'm trying to say. How are you, Troy?
Doing good, yeah. I'd heard that this Nick team, as much as those guys, some of them have played together in college. I just heard it was a disaster in the NBA preseason. Mikal Bridges, I supposedly have changed his shot, and he's since the preseason, I think he's 2 for 25 from three since he changed his shot. So he needs to get a new shooting coach immediately. But I've just heard that it's just been chaotic. They just can't figure out who's the leader. Is it Karl Anthony Towns? Is it Jalen Brunson? Where does Mikal Bridges fit in? Where does Josh Hart fit in? It just seems like it's a disaster. And then we obviously saw it last night. I hate to crown them, man. I hate to crown them, but it really looks like it could be a Celtics repeat. Those guys just move the ball so well. Jason Tatum is getting better year by year. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's the NBA MVP by any means, but he gets better every year. Jalen Brown's a stud. Drew Holiday. These guys got the nucleus now. And after watching them last night, I mean, they got 8 guys that can hit a three.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a tough out this year, without a doubt.
They're bringing guys out of the crowd. I mean, and one thing about Boston, and when they and scan the crowd, every guy either looks like Whitey Bulger or Mickey Ward, the fighter. I mean, there's no other look that you can have in Boston. So, and they have every reason to be reveling and delighted by the results last night because, wow, a blowout of gigantic proportions. And in the other game, the Lakers. You were wondering, well, when somebody was going to wake up and say, you know what, LeBron, 22 seasons, it's been great. You're still a marvelous physical specimen. He had a couple of slams in the game last night that were worthy of any of the great dunkers in the history of the NBA. Power dunks, and you're thinking, wow, how does this guy do it, man? He's 40 years old, 22 NBA seasons. He's played most, all of the games. He hasn't been involved in his load management injuries the last couple of years. But when are they going to wake up and make Anthony Davis the centerpiece of what they're doing? And I don't know, is J.J. Redick now the equivalent of Red Auerbach by figuring this out? It's only one game, but certainly looked like a better formula for the Lakers than constantly relying 100% on LeBron.
Yeah, I agree. They look great. They got to stay healthy without a doubt. But like you said, Anthony Davis looked like a premier superstar again yesterday. LeBron looked good. Austin Reeves had a nice game. They've got a nice roster without a doubt. How about Bronny James? He looked fantastic, didn't he? Yeah,
What was there a prop bet? I mean, he made the box score by he got into the game. I think he played like 3 minutes, and he had 1 rebound, I believe.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Was there an over/under on a half a rebound for Bronny James?
I would have
they
loved
could
to have
cashed on?
seen that. I should have looked that up. I bet it. I bet he was probably set at 0.5 on everything. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Good for him to get in. I still think that's a debacle. That's a story for another day. But you're right. Overall, the Lakers look good. They take care of a really good Timberwolf team, and it'll be interesting to see if they stay healthy and stay consistent throughout the year, because that's a team that could very easily win the West.
Action on the NBA, though. I mean, the evolution is almost mind-boggling. Because it used to be, you would go up to somebody and go, hey, who do you like in the game? And the guy go, I like Cleveland. That was it. Now I'm looking at these prop bets, and I was curious to get your opinion. I would imagine you have to dive into this because your clients and the people that follow you and are looking for your suggestions are majorly involved in this sort of thinking. Where I'm looking at one handicapper recommended that you take the over in the Knicks game against Boston on Josh Hart combined rebounds and assists. And he writes this very eloquent piece about how they're going to have to count on him more, that it's a different dynamic now without Julius Randle and DiVincenzo in there. And they're going to be asking Josh Hart to do more in the overall floor game. So he's going to grab a lot of rebounds and probably have at least 4 or 5 assists. So that went under like by like a huge margin. I think it was 12 and a hook. He tallied 7. But how dangerous is it, in your opinion, or is it worthwhile to explore all of these things in terms of what I would consider to be sort of minutia, but now are very much preferred and very well favored prop bets that you can make on NBA games? What do you think, Troy?
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit we went 0-2 in the NBA yesterday. We went 2-0 on prop bets, and we got lucky on one. We had Anthony Edwards over 26 and a half points, and he got to 27 in the final minute of the game. And then we also had Jalen Brunson under 28 and a half points. And the reason I liked the under on him was, this is last year. This is a guy that had to score for this team to be successful. This year now he's got Mikal Bridges, he's got Karl Anthony Towns. So I thought he was going to distribute the ball a lot more, which means less shots, which means less scoring. So I think there's value to prop bets. I think especially in the NBA, if you look at certain matchups, you look at a guy like LeBron James who, may try to, his first game with Bronny, just wanting to impress. I mean, you throw in these type of theories, you're not always going to come out right, but I think if you do it more times than not, and you really dig in, okay, who's defending, who's watching, there's certain teams in the NBA that just don't play a lick of defense. So if you're really putting your stats and all that kind of stuff and build it, I think you can make some money on the props.
I was watching FanDuel TV, being a racing fan, so I have it on. In fact, it comes under the heading with my wife of, do you ever watch anything else but horse racing? That kind of thing. And now they've turned everybody into handicappers, sports handicappers, because obviously FanDuel being the name on the operation, they're trying to encourage people. And you have all of these babes that look like they're being generated by artificial intelligence. I'm not even sure if they're real. They look like the babes that you have in the video blackjack configurations in some casinos,
Yep, yep.
where you're thinking, yeah, do you hit on the blackjack dealer, and then you realize you're looking at essentially a cartoon. But anyway, and they were all over the whole idea yesterday that LeBron was going to exceed. It seemed like a lot of points, 24 and a hook. But if you're looking at it from the standpoint of he wants to go into this massive celebration mode, that Bronny James is coming out there to make a token appearance. And I mean, is this, the kid's probably a great kid, but is this like the worst example of blatant nepotism you've ever seen in sports? This is worse than the Steinbrenners just inheriting the Yankees, and or any of those kind of situations. Is he on a Laker roster and getting even a half a second playing time if he's not LeBron's kid?
No, not at all. And I think it is, like you said, and I thought it was interesting not to keep bringing up this guy's name, but Brian Windhorst said yesterday that he is literally there to give LeBron another level of energy that maybe he wouldn't have had. And so they mentioned yesterday that he would be in early in that second quarter, and he was. And it was to energize LeBron, bring him to another level, excite him again, kind of bring him new life. So I don't know if that's a weird one, right? It's almost
You
like,
think LeBron's going to be thinking that 82 games into the season there when he's dead as a
jeez.
doornail and he can barely move his legs to get out of bed in the morning, and he's thinking, you know what, Bronny's going to get a couple of minutes tonight. That'll ignite a spark.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I think now the motivation is I want to win a championship with my son type of bullshit. So it's sad that it takes that, but I don't know. That's a topic for another day. It's a sad deal for me, without a doubt.
All right, we have a lot to attend to here, and so you dove in a little bit yourself on the NBA game. You, like me, were completely wrong, and when you have your theory busted right out of the chute, but when you can see that it's going to be a disaster, I mean, it made it a little easier for me to tune away for a while. And then you said pretty much it was over at halftime, and I thought, well, it's the NBA. Maybe this other team wakes up coming out of this locker for the second half, and they cut the lead, and it starts dangling between the numbers 7 and maybe 5 somewhere late into the fourth quarter. So you're in there with a shot, but no, I went directly the other way. I mean, we couldn't have been any more face down in the gutter after this game. Where do you want to head now? We have a lot of football, many intriguing and key and significant matchups coming up over the weekend, and also the pro game, which I did my preliminary perusal of the odds there, and one game kind of stuck out to me. I'll see if you agree on that because we've been hitting that play where the one game that really jumps off the page, you say, okay, hammer that. That looks way out of whack. All right, so what do you have for us, Troy West of Troy Wins?
Yeah, we're staying consistent. Last week we go 2-1 yet again. This week, I'm going to give you the Friday night game. I'd like USC minus the points Friday night at home against Rutgers. I believe it's at 14. USC minus 14. You might have it at
Yeah,
14 and a half.
I have it at
But
14 here.
USC minus 14, I like this game. Boy, they have had some heartbreak losses. They lose 29-28 to Maryland last week. The week before that, they lose to Penn State in overtime. They are at home. This is a brutal travel game for Rutgers. They got to go across the country from New York to LA. Give me USC in a big way Friday night. This is still a well coached team. This is a team that's still motivated. Lincoln Riley's a great football coach. Give me USC in a big way, 42-20. I'll take USC minus the points on Friday night.
Yeah, that has to be an awakening for the people on the Rutgers squad. I mean, going from Piscataway, New Jersey, which by just the sound of the name of the city, you're thinking is some kind of real dump that's just being urinated on by like Newark and all of the stuff that goes on at the refineries there. And they're going out to La La Land. That's got to
The
be a
equipment truck left a month ago for that game. So-
all due respect to Greg Schiano, who when he first went to Rutgers, remember, I don't know, you might have been not quite as immersed in the business as you are now with Troy, but when he first went to Rutgers, they were a horrible team, and he was going to have to flip them completely from being doormats for decades, and he covered every point spread that first year. He was
yeah.
like the darling of the degenerate brethren as he covered every point spread and endeared himself to gamblers all over the world by putting Rutgers not necessarily on any kind of a significant map from an accomplishment standpoint, but against the spread, they became absolute darlings. All right, so you like USC to trounce them under the circumstances here at Troy West, and you're going to go ahead and lay 2 touchdowns with these cats as they host Rutgers on the Friday night slate. All right, what else you have for us?
Yeah, Saturday. This was one of my losses last week, but I feel really good about it this week. California is minus 10 at home against Oregon State. Cal, again, they're coming off of just an absolute brutal loss last week in the final seconds of the game against NC State. This week, they're bouncing back. Oregon State has been really, really hard to watch this year. This is a bad, bad football team. Cal is minus 10 at home. Give me the Bears. I think they win this game handily, 37-13. Give me Cal on Saturday. And then we're rocking into Sunday. I'm giving the viewers a prime time game. Call me crazy, call me stupid, but I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys plus 4.5 against the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. Dallas is coming off the bye. They've got several guys coming back on the defensive side of the ball after the bye week. I just think they're going to be hungry after that shellacking against the Lions. 49ers, they're now 3-4. They lose Brandon Ayuk for the season. Deebo Samuel's in the hospital with pneumonia. McCaffrey is not scheduled to play again this week. I just don't. This game's decided by a field goal. I think Dallas, you could sprinkle a little bit on the money line, but give me the Cowboys plus 4.5. I think this is a close game on Sunday night.
This may not be a good sign, but I agree with you on that. Thinking when you look at what the 49ers don't have, and then on top of that, against the Chiefs last week, Brock Purdy looked like Mr. Irrelevant again, didn't he? Where you're asking yourself,
That
how
was a
did this
tough
guy get on
loss
a
for.
pro roster?
I don't get it. I've been the one guy that a lot of people, probably my biggest debate in sports that I've had over the last year or two is I have not defended Brock Purdy, and I get he's had some good games, but was just kind of joking with some guys. I'm like, can you imagine if Matthew Stafford was in that offense? Can you imagine if Dak Prescott or Tua Tunga, any of these guys were in that San Francisco 49er offense? What it would look like? Would they have multiple Super Bowls by now? I don't know, but I just think it's kind of fun to play that game, and then imagine Brock Purdy quarterbacking up the Panthers or the Browns, or imagine where he would be then. So
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
hard to
he
watch. He
acquitted
was
himself
really
pretty
hard to
well.
watch.
Yeah, but I mean, in previous years, he acquitted himself very well, and you were thinking, geez, that is a very debatable thing. If you're going to give Daniel Jones $160 million and some of these other guys, I mean, look at Deshaun Watson. That's a lot of money to go up and smoke. 230
Yeah.
million guaranteed. We're starting to see Lamar Jackson put things together and distinguish himself. But the first couple of ball games, you're thinking, this guy's drifting backwards a little bit, and now they've rattled off 5 in a row, which makes it. And you'll get to meet this guy as the gentleman I've been talking about, a friend of mine named Dylan, going to appear on one of our other shows on the Bleacher Brothers website. And he's the guy. He's got the Dodgers to win the World Series for the 90,000 from $100 play, and then I mean, wouldn't you feel pretty good if you had that, and then the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, the way they're playing right now, 480 grand if that clicks for a $50 wager.
Unbelievable.
My God.
Unbelievable.
All right, so we'll see how he's feeling about things. The buyouts looked a little low to you on those tickets we've been talking about a little bit, but he's going to join us on another show that we have. Bleacher Brothers would be the site for you degenerates that are inclined to want to ride the crest of a wave with a guy who's in a very, very admirable and enviable, and yet a position where you have to make a decision. Do I hedge off? Do I get myself 45 grand for the first ticket, let the other one ride? He's got a lot of questions to answer, so we'll get to that. All right. What do you think of this game here? This was the one, my preliminary perusal, I call it, where I just quickly glance at everything like I would if I was looking at a horse race and go, oh, look at that. That one's run a couple of 104 buyers, and nobody else has even a number in the 50s. Here's my horse. Steelers looked rejuvenated offensively a little bit. They really got a spark from Russell Wilson. Some of the passes, what would you say, were predicated largely on luck? I mean, he's got balls that are just nose diving like they were shot out of the sky, wounded ducks, and they drop right into the hands of a receiver as he's being triple covered and he makes the catch. There was a lot of that. But the Steelers and the Giants are coming back with Daniel Jones, who they benched. I mean, they were searching for Tommy Cutlets on the sideline in this game. I don't know. The Giants don't inspire me at all to think that they're going to score many points. Steelers' defense is stout, and their offense seemed to get a spark with Russell Wilson. They should improve off of that. Would you lay 6.5 with the Steelers, laying 6.5 at home to the lowly and exasperating New York Football Giants?
I get it. They look terrible against the Eagles, but if I were to bet this game, which I probably won't be, but if I were to be, I would buy the Giants up to 7.5 and play the Giants 7 hook. This is still a pretty, I get it, but this is a team that went into Seattle and made Seattle look really bad. And look at what Seattle did last week against Atlanta. They still have players on defense, and that's why I think it's going to be a close game. This is a good physical defense. That they did not look good against the Eagles. I get it, but we've got to flush that. I think they go into Pittsburgh and keep it close. I think it's like a 24-20 type of game, even like a 20-17 type of game. I think Pittsburgh wins. But if I can get that number up to 7 and a hook, I like those all day long in the NFL.
All right. I'm going to wait till the tide is high before I walk out on the pier now. And I've already sent it in thinking that the Steelers game was a lock. Got it at 6. All right. Opinion on the World Series. We have that beginning on Friday night. The Yankees are going to go with Garrett Cole. I'm assuming that Yamamoto is going to be the starter. I haven't seen that yet for the Dodgers in game number 1. We would be remiss. I don't know. I mean, you were a young man, or still, actually, what? Still the gleam in your father's eye. What? 1981. And I was actually covering the Dodgers for a Southern California newspaper, and Fernando Mania hit. And so, I mean, and if you believe in matters of the occult and wagering, is this not a large, ominous sign for the Dodgers? I mean, a halo coming over the whole thing. We know that Tommy Lasorda checked out several years ago, but for Fernando to, who even knew he was sick? I don't know. Did you hear anything about this? Dies at 63 years old. And 1981 was one of those magical years if you were a fan of any sport. We've seen it a few times where a guy, takes on. Mark the Bird Fidrich had that, where the whole country would tune in when he was pitching. Fernando was unbelievable. Everybody loved him. I mean, here's this kind of a heavy-set Mexican kid, supposed to be 16. He looks 38 years old. He's hitting balls in the gap and legging them out for triples. He's making heads-up plays in the field off the mound, winning, throwing 8 shutouts in his rookie season. And he passes away right before the World Series. What do you think? Does that shed any kind of a ray of sunshine on the Dodgers' chances in this thing? Or are you excluding it as a legitimate factor?
No, definitely not factored in on my thing, but I do think this is going to
You're
be
all
a great
business, huh?
series.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a great series. I mean, I think the Yankees have the deeper, better starting pitching. They've obviously got Garrett Cole. Rendon's been okay. Lucas Gill's not a bad third, fourth option. They've got the starting pitching where I don't know where the Dodgers go after game one. Walker Buehler's been a disaster. They've done the bullpen day now a couple of different times, but the Dodgers to me do have the better bullpen and they have the better lineup, the deeper lineup. So I do like the Dodgers to ultimately prevail. Their hitting just really turned it on in that Mets series. This game one's a big one though. I mean, you got to give the edge to Garrett Cole in game one. Just based sheer factor of he's been there before. The guy's a big game pitcher, where the Dodgers really don't have a guy that's gone out and pitched in these type of big games. So I give the edge to the Yankees in game one. I'm not betting game one, but in the series, I do think the Dodgers are the deeper team, and I think the bullpen is a big factor. And the Dodgers bullpen's been a big deal this year. So give me the Dodgers to win the World Series.
All right, you're taking the Dodgers, and they go in as the favorites at lay a $1.30 to win 100. You're getting a plus 115 with the Yankee lineup that also dignified itself and distinguished itself very well. Garrett Cole has been vulnerable, though. He hasn't been that lights out guy that you'd like to see a staff putting out there as their number one starter, and a guy who I guess in modern times is going to pitch in 2 games. Did they go back to the old theories? 1, 4, and 7. Hope for a rain out somewhere in there so they can come back with more Garrett Cole. But he's been getting slapped around a little bit, Garrett Cole. He hasn't been one of those guys that you're thinking, holy shit, Clemens is really on today, or that type of starter.
He hasn't. He looked okay against the Guardians in that series, but I'm with you. And his fastball is not that 100 like it used to be. So the Dodgers could be feasting off that. I think the Dodgers are more of a team that you really got to shake it up with several different pitches. We saw it with Darvish. He had some good outings against them, and it's because he threw 6 or 7 different pitches. So Cole's going to need more than just the fastball to beat the Dodgers. That's for sure.
All right. So you like the Dodgers in the series, and which way are you leaning in game one, or if you have a lean right now?
I would lean the Yankees, but that would not be money that I'm putting down. I just think that I don't know what to expect. Like you said, Yakamoto, I believe, will get the start. I think he's slated to get it. I don't know what to expect from him in game one, but I do lean Dodgers winning this series.
I couldn't shake you out of your mathematical, pragmatic, business-like approach to things, and throw the Fernando thing out there and say that was going to be some kind of an influence in the World Series.
No lie.
Oh my God! Did he do what the Celtics did and then wheel out his casket, to the mound there and have an open casket viewing by the people at Chavez Ravine just to get the crowd into a frenzy? Because that was really something when the Celtics they wheel out Red fucking Auerbach before the ceremonies were concluded, and of course they were going to shoot 29 threes in the game and never miss. Unbelievable. All right, where can people follow you? Because as we mentioned, not only are you winning every week on the show, but you're really doing a dynamite job, and I've seen it. It's documented, my friends. Yes. And when we say documented, I'm talking about with a major U.S. seal on there. So how can people find you, Troy?
Yeah, get to the Instagram. It's Troy West. We give out a whole bunch of free plays. We do promotions. We do discounts. We do giveaways. That's the Instagram. It's Troy West. The website is troywins.com. We've got an incredible deal. 7 days for $7. Why do we do that? We want you to test us out, make sure it's the right fit for you. And 7 days for $7. It's the best bargain going in the industry. It's not just me, it's a team of guys, and we cover everything: golf, UFC, college football, hockey, you name it, prop bets, prize picks. We cover it all. That's troywins.com.
And then there came Fernando. I can't sway him. Troy, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for the picks. We'll go back over those, and thanks so much for joining us here on Bury Your Bookie.
Thank you, Defo. You guys have a good one.
All right, Troy West, ladies and gentlemen. So he's laying a bunch of points here in the college games. USC minus 14 over Rutgers, traveling across the country for Greg Schiano. Cal laying 10 after a brutal beating last week over Oregon State. They're hosting Oregon State. Likes the Cowboys over the 49ers, a very badly depleted 49er team, and he likes the Cowboys to prevail there. That's the selections of Troy West. Does a great job for us here on Bury Your Bookie. All right, still have the World Series to look forward to. Mike Jones going to join us tomorrow, get into some college football plays with the professor on Friday's edition of the program. Flatter than a Parisian runway model, man. Now, you don't want to see your team come out like that. Even getting 6 or 7 points in an NBA game where it can reverse all of a sudden. That never happened, and the Celtics just hammer the New York Knicks in game number 1 of the regular season. And then Lakers finally realizing, hey, why don't we try Anthony Davis as the main guy? They do that. J.J. Redick looking like a genius already. I mean, he's going to erase the name and the memory of Phil Jackson as a Lakers coach by the time he gets to the in-season tournament, which we're all, of course, looking forward to. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us. Good luck with all your plays. And for all the people connected with Greenlight Ventures, nofilter.net, and Bet Online, I'm Jeff Deforrest, trying to help you once again to bury your bookie.